Okay, here we are. We're starting to get into the middle late game where we start unlocking some of the really complex things. For this episode, I believe I am going to unlock the train, so the monorail, and run some lines, because what's eating up a ton of time is that I'm having, well, okay, I haven't really started running over to the iron base. I guess I do have to constantly run over here and get stuff, but I'm definitely running over and getting a bunch of motors from the motor factory on the far side of the map, and that probably chews up 15 minutes each time I have to do it. And if I'm running a train, all the stuff will just be brought back here, which was the original plan. So we're definitely going to be unlocking the train today. I might spend a little bit of time running those lines, and I'll probably show you what that looks like in the end. You can just barely see the pyramid over there. Yeah, I might do a little bit more work on the pyramid just when I run the train over there. I'll show it to you. But yeah, run the train. But one of the other things I want to unlock in this one is computers, because that is kind of the next big unlock. I'm going to overproduce the computers specifically because I know that supercomputers and quantum computers are on the horizon. So if I'm overproducing regular computers, then it makes that step a lot easier in the future. The problem is that computers require two things that don't typically show up around each other. It takes a lot of copper and a lot of plastic, and plastic takes a lot of oil. Now there is a place right about here, the Functional Brother, that has a lot of oil on it. Again, we are up here. So if you go up here, go past that waterfall, right around here, there's a bunch of oil. I believe there's a lot of copper. I think there's deuterium here, and then there's copper right over here. So a lot like the motor factory where I was running, or the steel factory where I was running things in from long distances away, I'm going to kind of do the same thing. Deuterium isn't really needed for computers, but it will be needed for supercomputers and probably quantum computers. We haven't seen quantum computers yet, at least in the alpha for this game, so I don't know what goes into them. I can assume that deuterium is going to be a part of it, and there's a pure deuterium node somewhere in this area. So I'll be tapping that. I'll be tapping the copper over here, running it over here, and then I'm going to be building it around the oil. Bonus that there is, I believe, either a normal or an impure sulfur node somewhere over here, and so I'll be running that into the oil factory to kind of use the residual oil to build another turbo power factory. Kind of one of the goals is to have it that the later factories can potentially power themselves. I won't always be able to do that, but as long as I kind of take that into account, then I can do some cool stuff. So check back in a few. Okay, when I said the trains and train stations were big and they kind of had to be planned around in the early days of a design, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. You gotta get a sense for how huge these things are. So let's see. One thing I didn't talk about was some of the little advanced controls. So you can actually nudge things, which means, so while I'm trying to set this thing, you can sort of see that it doesn't really snap anywhere, and I'm trying to get it into a precise location. And I move my mouse just a little bit and swings all over the place. If I hold down H and use the arrow keys, now I can kind of fine tune where it lands, which is what we want. And I believe that will probably do it. So let's do that. Might have to move my sign of extreme heroism there. Okay, so of course it gives it, what are they, Swedish, Norwegian? Not sure what they are, but Coffee Stain. They do that. They give them all real highway names. Do I want it going that way or do I want it going the other way? So, train stations. What we got here, I think I do have opening underneath. Maybe having it on the right isn't such a bad idea. So you've got 2 outputs and 2 inputs. Obviously, with this station, we're going to be doing the outputs. This will be where everything is delivered to, but most of the other factories will be primarily using the outputs unless we're bringing in a resource from further away. And actually, that's an idea. I could set up a very small train network for the computers just to kind of show you how that works. So yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up a very small loop for the copper area and run it by train over to where the computers are going to be built, just to kind of show that off. But still, that doesn't answer the question of whether I want to open it on the left or the right. I kind of want to open it on the left. That side. Easy enough to fix. Let's go ahead and do it. Not totally sure how many platforms I'm going to have here. I think 4 should be good. Let's go ahead and do 4. That might be cutting in there. Let's just go 3. I've got a couple little tricks I can do. Yeah, and that kind of feeds into the wall there, so that's fine. I am going to have to move my sign. Whoops. Didn't do that on purpose. I am going to have to move my sign. Damn it, because that sign is awesome. All right. Go ahead and recolor this thing for... Nope, that's steel. Customizer, color, there, that's iron. So now this is the iron base. You can rename it just by coming up to this front part here. And I believe it's configure. There we go. We're going to call this, let's call this fire base. There we go. The one catch with trains, well, okay, one of a couple catches is they use a fair amount of power. We aren't hurting for power right now, but once we build that computer base, you can kind of pick up on the fact, like I was saying, when we were right on the edge with coal power, is what this game does is it kind of pushes your production where it says, okay, you got to build these things, and then your power is right on the edge, and then it says, okay, unlock the next power, and unlocking the next power stage basically puts you over the edge as far as what your power capacity is. And it just kind of keeps leapfrogging that way, that you're always balancing between output, logistics, like on belts and trains and stuff like that, power, and then what you're trying to produce. And this game is excellent at that. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Whee! All right. With that said, I got to unlock a couple other things related to trains. They require computers, which requires a lot of hand making until we get that computer factory up and running. So I am going to go ahead and do that and not subject you to it. Catch me in a few. Okay, and here we are. You can kind of see the oil patches there and there. These used to be at least a couple pure oil patches. You can sort of see they've got a couple of the big pigs here. This was always kind of a high risk area to be wandering around on the ground, which is why I'm up on this big rib here. I'm going to pick that up in a second. I was standing up there, but there were some very angry cows, so I headed down here. But anyway, this is where I will be building the computer base. You can sort of see that the Space elevator is right yonder. The steel base is kind of over here. The little steel base is there. The motor factory is over yonder. So I am going to start laying down foundations here, just kind of give myself somewhere to build, and check back in a bit. First, I'm going to grab this thing.
Witness a single strand of the tapestry. Hello, world.
How nostalgic.
In the beginning, there were the words, and the words made the world.
I see you have been doing research. I must say you make for interesting conversation.
Conversation.
Singing together, communication.
Our tunes only plug at the strings of the tapestry.
Are you saying this is only the beginning?
In the beginning, there were the words, and the words made the world. The words turned into song, open the windows. The song played with instruments, weave the tapestry. A tapestry of temples and shrines, bodies and bones. Orchestral harmony, us, we, ours.
And there you have it. Well, that was easy. Barely an inconvenience. Definitely didn't take me almost a week. Yeah, still some little cosmetic things to do, but let's take a look at this computer factory. I was planning on kind of future-proofing this thing and making it so that I could scale it up to make supercomputers, but remembering this area and how little oil it has, I think I've got a better place in mind for supercomputers, and it'll be far over to the west, and we'll get there when we get there. But anyway, let's take a look. So here we got our refinery. So obviously those are taking in crude oil and turning it into heavy oil residue. The heavy oil residue, unlike the fuel generator factory, is not being used in this production. And so I just siphoned it off, made some fuel, and then made more fuel generators over here. It's not turbo fuel. I was debating making turbo fuel, but I forgot that you need coal and sulfur. There's actually a sulfur node right over there. You can sort of see that there's two belts coming in. One is the copper, which I'll get to in a minute, and the other is the sulfur, because I was planning on turning this into turbo fuel and actually making a rather substantial power factory here with at least 8 fuel generators. I think it might even be 9 or 10. The 10th one would be underpowered most of the time. But as it turns out, there's not coal readily available. I think there might be some up there, so I might do it eventually. Not a huge concern right now, because computers were the last unlock that we had on this tier. So anyway, heavy residual fuel is all decked out from these guys, comes over here, gets turned into fuel, or heavy residual oil, gets turned into fuel, gets turned into power. So this is sort of like a little mini power plant to keep this whole thing going. The byproduct is plastic. You can kind of see that rolling out there. Half of it splits off and goes down into these manufacturers, and we'll come back there in a minute. The rest comes over here. And this is where the copper line comes in. It's made into copper ingots. Copper ingots get made into wire and sheets. So this this little rib here kind of functioned as a nice barrier. So everything on this side is making copper sheets. Everything on this side is making copper wire. And then the copper wire feeds over and makes these last two, which are cable. You can sort of see the wire going in there. And then the plastic and the copper sheets come in here and make circuit boards, following the line. You get up to computers, which take plastic, which is where this is going. The circuit boards are going in there, and then the cable. All that goes in there, and it spews out about 2.5 computers a minute. And there are, let's see, 3 of them, and then they spit down into the train station. And I just realized that I put my splitter in the wrong place. It needs to be up here. So hold please. There. That should help it out a little bit. Just basically loads balances it. It's not quite 50-50, but it's close enough that I can live with that. Basically, I just ran the splitter at the end of this line, and now the plastic should be split more half and half. So with that said, I did a little, well, not a little, I did a lot since you last saw this, so hang on, let's hop on the train. And meanwhile, this is filling up here. I'm going to grab 50 of these computers because they will be useful. Let's see if I can free up any space here. I cannot. So we'll come back in a bit. Hop in this train. Let's go for a little ride. The moth flies right underneath us on that bridge. Oh no, not the bean! Alright, so now we're going pretty quick at 150 kilometers per hour. We're pulling into our main base, and we're gonna keep going. You can sort of see this has grown up a little bit. I'm gonna take a right up here just to kind of show you something else. Then we'll come back. So this little factory is making our alien tech and also making some crystal items. It's filling up this train station, which will eventually go all the way through. Let's go back. So you'll notice my train has a wow, the name totally escapes me. The engine. It's got an engine on either side, and that allows me to do this a little more efficiently. Allows it to get up the steeper hills. And again, I will probably be going through and prettying this thing up once I get a chance, but the blueprint I came up with for the train, probably be running that all over the world. Now let's go this way. Oh, I need to rename that station. And here we go. We'll take a left this time. Then we're back at the iron factory, the steel factory. All right, gang, that's it for this one. Next time up, we'll try to unlock the next level of the space elevator. And that'll be nuclear power and a bunch of stuff that I have never seen before because it was not available in the alpha. So looking forward to that. Catch me next time.